Hi, my name is Deyanira Ortiz, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about personality traits and aging. There is a long-standing debate in psychology. Does personality change as we age, or is personality set by the time we reach adulthood, and do we stay the same for the rest of our lives? Why is the area of personality controversial? In general, mental health professionals believe people can change, especially with respect to undesirable or harmful aspects of their personality. Think about how it would be if we could never overcome shyness, aggression, or anxiety, and these became a lifelong uncurable curse. Yet, we also base our interactions with people on the perception that their personality remains relatively consistent over time. Imagine the chaos that would result if every week or so someone woke up with a brand new personality. The once easygoing husband is now a real tyrant. Our patterns of social interactions would be in shambles. Clearly, to survive in day-to-day life, we must rely on consistency of personality. Personality traits are characteristic patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Personality traits imply consistency and stability. An example of this is someone who scores high on a specific trait like extroversion is expected to be sociable in different situations and over time. When we describe someone as shy or social, we are describing behaviors we view as consistent over time. Three assumptions are made about traits. 1. Traits attributed to a specific person. We assume people will have a stable characteristic. An example of this is we normally assume people who are friendly in several situations are going to be friendly the next time we see them. 2. Traits can be measured and compared between people and over time. This assumption is difficult because some traits are difficult to define and measure. 3. The qualities of behaviors making up a particular trait must be distinctive enough to avoid confusion. An example of this is imagine the chaos if friendliness and aggressiveness had many behaviors in common, and others were vastly different. The five-factor model of personality consists of 5 independent dimensions of personality: openness to experiences, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Each of these dimensions is represented by 6 components that reflect the main characteristics associated with them. For example, the 6 factors of neuroticism are anxiety, hostility, self-consciousness, depression, impulsiveness, and vulnerability. Although we all experience these emotions at times, the frequency and intensity with which they are felt vary from person to person. People high in neuroticism would experience these emotions or behaviors much more often than people who are low in neuroticism. An example of this is how this cluster of traits operates in a person who gets anxious and embarrassed in social situations and may become frustrated. Dealing with others may make the person hostile, leading to excessive drinking at a party, and may result in subsequent depression for making a fool of oneself. Longitudinal researchers studying personality over time have found personality traits are relatively stable throughout adulthood. However, there is some evidence of change. Researchers have found decreased levels of openness, extroversion, and neuroticism, also found increased levels of agreeableness, and conscientiousness increased throughout young adulthood, peaks in middle life, and decreases again in adulthood. Medical researchers in Japan wanted to see if personality traits were related to structural brain changes in older adults. To do this, they asked 41 health participants to complete the 5-factor inventory and conduct an MRI. They found that the older the participant was, and the less education they had, the lower their levels of gray matter in their brain was. Gray matter in the brain is made up of most of the brain's neural cells. A group of researchers from Germany conducted a longitudinal study to see how personality traits are related to attitudes towards aging. They found that middle-aged and older adults who had lower levels of neuroticism, higher levels of conscientiousness, and higher levels of openness had more positive attitudes towards their own aging. This relationship was stronger in midlife and the early stages of older adulthood. These are my references. Thank you so much for listening.